Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today, we are getting not so festive. It's not necessarily a Christmas-centered book.
This is like the winter solstice.
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
winter solstice.
Of our, we had our holiday poll we threw out for our patrons. Exclusive patrons get to vote in our poll for whatever our second episode is of the month. And so we had some like festive ones, and then we had a little more just like
we had 3 Santa Claus based ones.
Yeah.
That are all different versions of Santa Claus based ones. So I wasn't sure what they were going to go for, but we actually got a 4th one in there that I just typed in like Christmas comics, and this one came up, and it's like a version of the Snow White story, but it's by Neil Gaiman. The art looked really good, and I was like, it's in the winter, it's close enough. So, we put that one on there, and it won.
And surprisingly, it won. Yeah.
Apparently, people don't give a fuck about Santa Claus stories much like me, so I appreciated that. But this one is called Snow Glass Apples, and like we said, it's by Neil Gaiman, and the art is by Colleen Doran.
And that's 3 words: snow, glass, apples.
Yes.
So just to make this thing, because when you told me what it was, I didn't look at it. I was like, snow glass. I'm like, okay, that's
Snow glass apples.
Snow glass
What
apples?
are snow glass apples? That's true. I guess I need to pause in between each one. But yeah, so like we said, this was voted on by the patrons. And if you would like to vote on our second episode of each month as a patron, you could do so by joining patreon.com/Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word. And speaking of patrons, we'd like to give a special shout out to our patrons. We sometimes forget to do this. I apologize, but we're supposed to do it every episode. And those patrons are Otaku Mike, Christian, and Hoku. We appreciate you very much.
Thank y'all so much.
Yes, and you guys keep it going for us. We get inspiration by the fact that people actually pay us to do it a little bit. So that's awesome. And we would do it for the most part we did it for 3 years or whatever without patrons.
Yeah. But it is nice, especially for storage. Now we have this lovely back catalog to share with everyone.
Yes,
and so it's nice to be able to have some extra funds to support that growing catalog.
Yes, exactly. So. Like we said, Snow Glass and Apples is basically the Snow White tale, like the Disney movie, original Disney movie, but told through the eyes of the Wicked Witch or the stepmother witch. I don't even know.
I guess it would be the.
So okay, I'm gonna confession, John.
The evil queen.
I mean, I've seen Snow White, but I don't give a fuck about that story. So like, I was getting this confused with Sleeping Beauty, I think, because I'm like, when does she fall asleep?
Yeah.
I'm like, she bites the apple and then she falls asleep, right? Is that what happens? So I was like, wait, isn't there like a spindle or something in this? And like, what's going on? Like, I just got all of them kind of mashed together.
She gets a poison apple too.
No, I know, but I was waiting for the spindle, and I'm like, wait,
that's
a different movie, isn't it? So. Yeah. I am not a giant Disney early. I guess I like Disney movies, but I don't watch them on a regular basis. When I was a kid, I'm sure I was more of like a Robin Hood, and the Rescuers, and like those movies, and Great Mouse Detective. I love that one.
Oh yeah.
But the early Disney movies, I appreciated the art when I was a little kid, and even now I do too. They're great, but like I don't give a fuck about their stories. So. This was like a more mature, like a very, very, very much more mature version of that Disney movie, because this one has a lot of I don't know, sexuality in it, and
I was gonna say I remember the story of Snow White quite well,
yeah.
And I would say that I do not remember there being this much sexuality in Snow White.
Wait, she doesn't have a gangbang with all the dwarves in the Disney version?
No,
not in that Disney version. I've seen that version. That's a different.
Well, and I will say there's one thing I wasn't 100% because with fairy tales there's different areas of the world they come from, and then things change here and there.
Right.
But I wasn't 100% sure, but I double checked. So Snow White, at least a lot of the story elements are from a Brothers Grimm
Oh, okay.
Snow Witchen.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's her. Sneen Witchen, pardon me, is how you
Okay.
pronounce it. So that could be maybe like this is a little more tailored from
I
that.
don't think
I
there's
don't think
too much sex in those old ones.
no,
More
probably
violence.
not either.
More the violence, but yeah, this is like a weird mix. I had no idea what this was going into it, other than it's like a Snow White story or whatever. But told, it's like the description is, but told from the evil stepmom's view or whatever. So I was like, okay. So we start off, and we are in fact in the point of view of the wicked, or like no,
evil.
I'm sorry, she's the evil queen in Snow White, but she is not evil in this. She is just a witch for sure.
Yes.
Who we find out like the king of the land, had a great wife. They had a daughter. The wife died during childbirth, and then the king was always sad. And then one day he met on the road when he was riding his horse through his lands. He met the witch, and yeah, she was a witch, but she was a hot witch apparently. And he was smitten with her instantly. Now, at the beginning of this book, you're just like, oh, they like fell in love naturally. Later on, they actually do say like she did like bewitch him so that he would like see her. But other than that, there's nothing really untoward about her in this story.
Yeah,
right?
she definitely no. She definitely comes out of this story being much more of a like happenstance and like, okay, yeah, so like maybe later it's like, okay, maybe at first I bewitched him a little, but we really were in love.
Yeah, like I loved him, he loved me. Yeah. It's fine. Now, this is where like you start to see the art style in this book, and it is amazing. I don't know, like I love the way it looks like painted glass.
Yes, I was gonna say this is some of my favorite type of art as far as this style, and then specifically, was it Colleen Doran? You said Doran?
Yeah, Colleen Doran. I think.
So it's like when you open up an old timey, or especially in movies,
yes,
a kid's fairy tale. Like it looks like that medievally cross.
Like they only have 6 colors, and they have to put them in a very specific section. So there's like black around each section. It's like literally like stained glass.
Yeah.
So,
but very intricate stained glass.
Yes,
right?
yeah. This is a little bit more than just stained glass, but it has the bold shapes, like the bold outlines around the shapes that give it that stained glass feel. And that's like the interesting thing about this. I was very much like happy and pleasantly surprised when I opened this. I'm like, oh wow, like the cover is very beautiful. And if you a lot of times when you open comics, you're like, no, the cover's great, and then you open, and you're like, what the fuck is this in the inside? So I should have known because it's just her, but like, and it's Neil Gaiman, and it's. I don't think this was put out as an issue. I think this was like an original graphic novel because it also doesn't have the flow of a comic. Like, there's no panels necessarily, or there's very few panels, I should say. A lot of it is almost like scenes just flowing into like melding into one another, and then there's text over it, in text boxes. So. There's not panels, but it's kind of like
it's mostly narration over like of beautiful images.
Yes, but like multiple images on each page. So like it's not just one static image. There's like a flowing of you see the king riding on his horse, and then he sees her, and then you see them riding off together. So it's like panels, but not panels.
I was gonna say if they're making love, there's definitely multiple angles of that.
Yes, we definitely get many angles of them making love. I wouldn't say it's gratuitous as far as nudity. But there is a little bit of nudity in this. We definitely know that the king's hair, the carpet matches the drapes. We'll say that. All right? So he is a blonde king, just so you know. So like we said, he meets this witch. He takes her back to his castle. The witch is like, okay, seems nice. He meets the daughter, who's a little weird. We'll say
she's a little odd.
Yeah. Like she looks a lot like her mom, who had really dark black hair, like raven hair, she says. And, the mom was pretty busty, which we could see in all the pictures. The king really made sure the painters captured her bust in the image. I thought I personally laughed when I saw that. I mean, it looks great, but you usually don't see like a very busty portrait of someone who's died.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is also in the daughter's room.
Yes, that's
like
true.
to look upon her mother all the time.
Look how busty your mother was.
yeah, and you think of like portraits of that time, like usually like it's like a frilled top thing, so you don't even have any kind of cleavage.
Or if you, I mean, you might have like the bustier, you know,
yeah.
where you see like the very tops of the breast pushed really hard together.
But still, it's like
this is very it's a bustier, but it's split down the middle, and you can see the globes. All right, let's put it that way. So the queen, you know, I said the witch becomes the queen. You know, he marries her, and it seems to be going good. They are making loves all the time. A lot.
Yeah, like you turn the page and I'm like, oh, there's
more thrusting.
It's another day. Like it's down the road.
Or just months. They just show the last few months of like many times they've made love. We also see that in one of those nights, the princess goes into the room. I don't know why. She's spying or she hears a noise or whatever. And she sees them making love, and I don't know why exactly that's important, but
I think it's just that like she's being a creeper, and she's because they're definitely making out the princess to be a very oddball, very like out there character.
And one thing that's interesting about this princess is, unlike the queen, she has like extremely ivory skin. Mm-hmm. So like,
and she never eats with the king and queen, the new queen.
Yeah, and her eyes are like her like. Not her eyeballs, but the iris. Well, maybe even her eyeballs, but the irises or whatever, like the what are those called instead of the pupils? The pupils are like dark pools. There's no like definition, or you can't see like rings in them or anything. But they're almost the entire size of the eye, so they take
looks like they're dilated all the time.
It looks like she's just super high all the time. So one night, she goes to the queen's room and says hi as the queen is making some like. Little, what are they called? Like they look like wind chimes, but
yeah, it's like she does like dried fruits and things on like the twine and stuff.
Yeah. And
I guess it's probably like for sense more than anything, like a potpourri.
Yeah, or maybe it's some kind of magic. She's a witch, so
that's true.
Maybe it is some kind of like pagan thing or something. But one of those dried fruits is an apple, and the princess sees it and she's like, "Oh, you like the apple? Why don't you take a bite of it?" And then she tells like a little story about what the apple represents, which is customs about like her people who would go hunting and get a pig and then feed it or cook it with apples inside of it and whatever. So the princess takes a bite of the apple, and the queen's like, "Oh, you like it? It was good." And she's like, "Yeah, it's great." And then she goes to like touch the princess's face, and the princess fucking and bites her on the hand with a snaggletooth that looks a lot like a vampire tooth. So let me get this straight. She got weird eyes. She got ivory white skin.
And she got some sharp teeth in there.
She got a snaggle tooth. And she bites you and draws blood. So I'm thinking the first time I read this, or, when I read this, I was like, wait, was this a vampire story?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I had no idea this was going this way. So turns out, yes, she is in fact a vampire. When she bites the queen is like, "Get out!" And like I don't know if it's because she is a witch and she can like banish it or something. I don't know, but like she's able to get that thing away from her after it fully bites her hand, and then she like then starts to lock her door every night and make sure that. Also by this time, I think because the princess, she's like separated in a different chamber from the king.
Yeah, the king has his own room, the queen has her own room, and then the princess has her own room. And
she makes it known, the queen does, that like she knows the king is fucking other ladies, because that's why he's got his own separate quarters. And if he sees a girl he fancies while he's writing, much like her, he's like, "Why don't you come up to my room where my wife is not at?" And so like so he goes, she knows he's doing that, but she's the queen.
Yeah.
So she's not too upset about that, it doesn't seem, but then so this is going on for a while. Like we said, she bars her doors, her windows. I don't know, there's an image of like the kid maybe flying, even like the princess flying.
It definitely seems like she's
like outside the window.
Oh,
that's what I thought it meant. Like
I thought it just was like her going down the hallway.
You know what? You're probably right. It's just the way that they drew the background. It looks like the sky or something, like a night sky. Okay, so yeah, she's very light on her feet as she walks, as vampires are. You fucking vampires. And so then, like, as she's kind of going to visit the king every now and then. The queen is noticing that he just is getting sick and he's feeling weaker and he doesn't feel very good. And so she tries to like reconnect with him. And she tries to have like you know what, like you've been on your own in your own room for a while. I know you've been banging other bitches in the kingdom, but guess what? I'm your queen. I'm going to remind you of what you missing.
Yeah.
All right. So she tries to have like a love session with him, and then she gets naked, he gets naked, and as they reveal his body, we see it is full of scars all over him, and even she makes sure to say on his wiener and his balls.
Yep.
So,
well, we'll say so when the princess bit her hand, it
left a scar that never healed completely.
Yeah,
a big fat scar.
But it healed to the scar like fairly quickly too. So it was like very interesting.
Yeah. So apparently the daughter has been draining the king. Now we should also mention the daughter is 14 in this. So
yeah,
there's a couple fucked up. I mean, besides it being her dad, she's also 14, and it's weird.
Yeah. It's medieval story. They're pulling from. They're just being historically accurate.
Sure.
From the
Neil Gaiman. Anyway, so this is where we get some nice. We make sure we know that the carpet matches the drapes in this scene.
Yes.
For sure, because he don't shave. We'll put it that. He does not have Manscaped. You know. So.
Yes. As we are not sponsored either by Manscaped. The king here too did not have Manscaped.
She didn't help him with that, with her magics, you know.
So it could be a good Christmas gift.
There you go.
But we're not sponsored.
Wow. Don't say that unless we are sponsored, John. Come on. So anyway, after that night, she's like, I don't know what to do, but he just dies. Like the next day, he dies because he's so weakened and everything. And he's too weak to make love to her. That's how weak he was. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. And if you saw her, if you were looking at the picture me and John are looking at, you'd be like, that'd be hard to do. I'd have to be on death's doorstep.
He'd almost have to be stone dead.
Yeah, exactly. So, like we said, he dies. Then she becomes the queen, and we get this magnificent page.
Oh man,
of her like in her queen garb, and she looks very. I will say like, she would look evil because you know that in the story she's supposed to be evil in the original story, or like not the original in the Disney story that we know, but in this she just looks like a hard ruler, like she is now the monarch of the kingdom. So she has to put on this face, and she did what she had to do. And so, yeah, I mean, she does her thing. Then she hires people to, now that she's queen, she's like, fuck that kid. I think she banishes the kid or something.
She talks about like what she would have done. So she talks about how it's been like 18 summers, I think, since the king.
Yes, since the king died.
She said come and gone since she first saw daylight. So I assume that meant like is either.
I think this is the future because of the future because then we do like a backtrack of what happened.
Yeah.
So after the king was killed, the queen had people try to kill the daughter. The daughter went on the run. Then they eventually tracked her down and like had the huntsman.
The huntsman, yeah, from that.
Track her down, cut off her arms and hands and legs and everything, but also cut out her heart and
bring the heart back to the queen.
Exactly. So I think it's been 18 years since that happened.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because, yeah, if it was 18 years, then it'd mean like, oh, she was there for 18 years.
Yeah.
Okay. She let it happen.
Why would she? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, she does that. So now she has the heart of this vampire princess of hers. And because it was also, wasn't it like attacking people in the woods or something like that?
Yeah, I think she was gone, like she was banished and like hiding in the woods. But then yeah, they heard of attacks in the woods. So.
Yeah, so she gets this heart of the vampire and she puts it on one of those like twine string things. Like,
yeah, like all her fruit was.
Yeah, so it's that's why I think it's like magic. Like she's putting it there and it's some sort of like pagan magic.
It must be because she talks about like putting it with bulbs of garlic. And...
Yeah. So now that the vampire's dead, the kid, the princess, she she rules her kingdom like normal, but there's like a traveling group of
It's the forest people.
sure.
Because she talks about like when she was.
Well, it's like
it's
not just forest people, because that makes it sound like it's specifically elves and shit like that, or dwarves. It's gypsies, and it's like a traveling circus almost that like come to town.
Definitely, but she said she knew a lot. She was familiar with a lot of them because she like would do like fortune telling, quote unquote, from
Yes,
her being a witch.
Yes, so they come to town every year, and over the last couple years, fewer and fewer have been coming because we forgot to mention this. The heart is still beating, like while it's on the little twine, it's beating, and she's like, I thought she was dead. Now I think I said that they cut her arms and legs off, but they didn't do that. That was like her imagination of what she wanted them to do. But they just like took out the heart, and that was all they did. They didn't do anything else to her body. So this heart has been beating on this twine in the queen's room or whatever. So she's like, still alive. She's still alive in the woods. So she uses her magic mirror. It says like magic, she doesn't say the words in the thing, but you know what it is. Magic mirror on the wall. Show me the fucking bitch that killed my husband. So it shows her like in the forest, the girl, the princess. She's still alive. She's running around.
She's no longer a little girl.
As
far they just make it like she's not a child anymore, obviously, because it's been all this time.
Yes, but she doesn't look that old.
No, that's true.
She doesn't look 18 years older. I'll say that. She's a vampire.
So she wouldn't. It's like Kirsten Dunst. She's still got that little child face, but she's already.
Yes. So, wait, yeah, what movie is that?
Interview with the Vampire.
Interview with the Vampire.
I was like, we should say also from the movie, not just Kirsten Dunst is a vampire. That is not something we are talking about on this podcast.
What are you saying? That Kirsten Dunst looks like a child? What do you mean? All right, yeah. Anyway, yeah, from the movie Interview with the Vampire, where Kirsten Dunst was a 13-year-old girl who got bit by a vampire and became a vampire and remained 13 the entire time. So.
Yeah.
Or at least looking 13. So, anyway. This princess is running around through the woods. She is finding, random people who are going through, like monks, and she is seducing them. She fucks this monk. This is one of the things where you're like, I never thought I'd die like this, but I always hoped I would. Because, this girl is fucking him. Although it's a bit weird. I didn't quite understand this part. She fucks this monk to death. And then they make sure they say this a couple times, that there's a blackish liquid dribbling from between her legs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that represents. Do you know what that represents, John?
The black magic that is between her legs.
I'll take it.
If you don't know that vampires, they drink blood, but they also have female vampire. I don't know.
I thought you were serious. I'm like, do you know something about vampires?
No. I have no idea what that was.
All right. Anyway, so that's one of the things in the story. I was like, I don't know what this is supposed to signify. But she always has blackness. Whenever they show her naked or partially naked, she's always has black liquid dripping down her legs on her inner thighs. So I'm like, I don't know what that's supposed to signify, but all right.
Maybe the blood just going straight through.
That makes no sense at all. But anyway, so the queen sees this. She's like, okay, we got to kill this witch. I got to figure out a way to take this witch out. And basically we got to make her heart stop beating. If she's still drinking blood, then there's not really a way to kill her if I have her heart and she's still running around doing that. So she decides to do her magic, make a poison apple that smells like blood because she puts her own blood in it. Like the witch puts her own blood in it. And then she makes these apples, and they're green at first, but then as it fills with her blood, I think they're red. Yeah, they're red once she pulls them out of the cauldron or whatever, and because they're so filled with her blood. And that's what tempts the princess to eat them, because even though to me it would be very obviously a trap of I'm just going to leave these apples in front of the cave, and then why did you do that? But she makes them so tempting to the princess, that when they leave them in front of the cave, the princess comes out hungry, and because also fewer and fewer people have been coming into the woods since they hear about this vampire, or the people going missing at least. So she's starving at this point, and she sees the apples. She immediately goes for them, She bites it. It turns out it is poison, and the queen knows it's successful because the heart stops beating. And then everything seems good for the most part. Like, life is back to normal. The fair picks up again. People start coming and trading every year. But there's some little folk that have been coming around. These dwarves, these goddamn dwarves.
Yeah.
And they sell these crystals that are only found in that cave, I think, or like around that area where the princess died. So we're like, that's weird. How come they have all these crystals? And damn, I don't know. I think she's just suspicious because she doesn't like the size of them. But that's
wow. Maybe though.
There's I mean, the idea that she
yeah.
just sees the crystals and goes, they're holding her. Like they don't. I didn't necessarily find the connection of why the dwarves are with her, but somehow the dwarves found her in that cave while they were mining, and they're like, "Ooh, pretty girl," and then they like put crystals around her body, and then later on, like a couple as everything's going good again for the queen, and she's got her guard down, a new like prince from another land or new king from another land comes to try to like merge kingdoms. And he tries to date her, and
yeah, and so she's like 25 at this time. She's saying, and then she poisoned her stepdaughter 2 years previous, or 2 summers previous,
okay,
or 2 winters, I guess, previous, because it was in the winter. And then so this guy comes and he's like, hey, things are going well, and I'm from the South Sea, and
let's have an alliance.
Yeah, like you do in those times.
Yeah, and so, she still loved the king, and she thought of him, and she's like, is this kind of betraying him? But she decides, you know what? It's fine. I'm going to go to this prince's room. I'm going to rock his world. But for some reason, and I wasn't exactly sure why, like, they start to make love, and it seems like he's really into it, but then he, like, can't do it. And and the literal words are, his manhood slid out of me, and I reached out and touched it, and it was a tiny slippery thing.
Yeah.
So what I think is, either he got like nervous or something, and he like it went away, or he just got a tiny dick and it wasn't doing it, or he was nervous about that or something. I don't know exactly what was up with this guy.
And he said like he also for her not to speak to, so maybe we don't know.
Okay, so that's the weird setup of this is as she like sees like, okay, he's not hard anymore or whatever. He says like, please, you must neither move nor speak. Just lie there on the stones, so cold and so fair. So it's like he's a necrophiliac where he just wants a woman to not do anything. Because the whole thing was like, as he's like having sex with her, she gets into it and starts like, pulling him into her and stuff. And he's like, no,
you just.
I like it when you stay dead, like or stay still like you're dead,
like someone maybe in the forest.
Yeah, or something. But we've never had it where we know that he hasn't. They don't say like he's visited the princess.
No, I know, but he just says cold and fair, so. I was like,
Yeah, so I don't know why. She kicks him out, though, because...
And he leaves the next morning with all his people.
Yeah. She's like, what the fuck? So then, just so happens, as he's riding back through the forest to his place, since he can't... Now the alliance isn't happening because they're not, together or whatever. He happens to come across these dwarves, and there's a woman inside of like a crystal encasing that they have made.
So cold and so pale.
And she's cold and pale, and that's what he's into. So he's like, fuck, yes, finally, a dead girl I can fuck, and no one will care. And so he like gets his gold, he gives it to these dwarves who are very, I should also say, I love the way that they do the dwarves here, because in the Disney one, they're so like nice and cute and, happy. And in this, they're just like dirty, small men. Like, they just look like dirty, fucking gross men.
Yeah.
And I just think that's funny that they're like, no, the dwarves are just like, give me the gold. And I don't know, I guess they found her and they thought she looked nice, so they
preserved her or something.
That's it, though. They don't really say why.
I love that there's one line that she's talking about, because this is all narrated from the Queen still, and she's like, I imagine him negotiating with the hairy little men, offering them gold and spices for the lovely corpse under the crystal mound.
Yes. Yes. It's perfect for, what they are,
Yeah.
So he, takes, it's a crystal mound on top of her. So that means like, it's just bits of crystal that are stacked on top of her body. So the king or the prince or whatever takes those crystals off. He sees Snow White, or the princess now, but she's essentially Snow White, right? Like from the story. And she looks, in this picture, looks like Snow White from the movie. That's why she has super raven hair and her lips are super red. I don't know if the dwarves like prettied her up or something. I don't know what, but this king is like, cool. Girl on a slab? I'm rock hard right now.
Did he take her there in front of them all? Did he carry her to a secret nook? I can't say.
Yeah. So he fucks her while she's still asleep, which is creepy. And in the middle of that, she wakes up and she bites him. And he seems to be really into that too. And then at that exact moment, as she is biting the prince, the queen wakes up because that heart of the princess is hanging above her, kind of like a dream catcher or some shit in her bed. And it starts to bleed and pump again. And so, apparently...
She did not kill her.
She did not kill her. It just put her to sleep. And then that prince comes back, and now he's under the spell of the princess. And now Snow White is back. And, yeah. They come back in full force and kill everybody and start, I don't know. They take over the kingdom, basically. And then Snow White gets to the chamber of the queen and takes her heart down that's still beating. She cuts open her chest with her nail and shoves the heart back in. Before she does that, though, she gives a nice lick, like a Gene Simmons kiss lick.
To her own heart. Like, oh, I missed you, baby.
Yeah. And then you know the rest of the story. Live happily ever after. The queen is thrown into the dungeons where she is going to be executed and burned to death. And now Snow White reigns with her prince, Charming. Overall,
her prince her prince who loves dead bodies, Charming.
Yeah, I mean it works for him, right?
Yeah,
like he's like, finally a woman that's alive but also dead that I can fuck. So, yeah, and everybody loves it. And all hail Queen Snow White as she reigns. And she looks I will say there's a splash page of her in her monarch gear.
And she looks like
she looks nice and fancy.
Yeah, like she's nice and sweet. With her thick hair as black as coal, her lips redder than blood, and her skin Snow White.
Yes. And that is the end of this issue. Now of this comic. Now, it was a pretty quick comic. It's a 60-page graphic novel. So, I mean, that's kind of nice sometimes when we've done some that I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot of issues or whatever that we took on. Specifically, there's been a couple where we were like, oh, we're going to read this one part of a graphic novel because it's like multiple ones inside of a big book, a big collection. And John will read all of them. And I'm like, why did you read all of it? Oh, I thought we were reading all of it. It's like, no, man, just these 4 issues. It's like, I read 30 issues.
Why did you make me read 30 issues?
So this was a nice surprise for me when I actually checked it out and was reading it. We read it digitally on Hoopla. But this actually, I want to buy this comic because it looks so nice. I don't even know if it's in print or anything anymore. But it's very, very, very pretty looking. I would like a big version of big hardcover that's 11 by 17.
Oh yeah, just so
the artwork is full in there. But it is beautiful. Specifically, I wouldn't mind having the prints of the 2 queens and their monarch splash pages.
Oh yeah, that would be cool, side by side to have.
Yes, that would be fantastic because they're so well rendered, so beautiful. It's pretty amazing. So. With that being said, John, what did you think? What would you give it?
So again, I want to point out that I don't remember Snow White being that such a sexually charged story, but
you're okay with it.
But I'm okay with it. I loved this. I like stories set around medieval periods, and the Snow White has always kind of had that, obviously.
Yeah, like Dark Ages or whatever.
Yeah. And I got a thing for for medieval times, both the restaurant and the time period.
I thought you were going to say for dad incest.
No, I do love the Game of Thrones and all that stuff, and I know there's a lot of that too. Maybe.
But only certain scenes.
But only certain scenes, yeah.
Not the talking or the dragons.
Yeah. Just the scenes with boobs and
yeah.
No, I like the dragons too. You gotta use like dinosaurs and dragons. You gotta like all that stuff.
Sure.
Too. Anyway, wow, I'm digging myself a hole here. But seriously, I really liked Colleen Doran's art in this. So much so, like I was like, what else has this lady done? Like I have to go like look up and see things. And she's done several different things with him, including there's some other fairy tale-esque stories. I saw there's one like about trolls that looked really cool. I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole eventually because I want to see more of this. Like I really enjoyed it. Like I said, stuff with Neil Gaiman, and then she's done stuff with other writers as well. But I loved it. I'm also a sucker for vampire stories, so.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming at all.
I didn't either. So, and even with the cover, like, so she's holding like the cover of this. We didn't say specifically, other than it was beautiful, but it shows like the queen, and she looks a little evil, and she's holding the heart like on a string, and so, that could be anything. Where I'm like, does she kill somebody, or is she just like pure evil thing?
Right.
And so yeah, it was a cool like ode to what happens in the story, but not knowing anything about necessarily it being like an added supernatural element of a vampire.
Yeah.
So I liked that it was a twist of making Snow White the bad character too. Like that's always.
Well, I knew that was going to happen because at least in the like the back, sales part of it, where the back of the book where it says what the book's about, it said like from the point of view of the queen, who is. It's like a twist where she's not evil and Snow White is, kind of thing. So
I didn't read that. You just said it was from the point of the queen, and I thought it was just going to be more like, oh, I did these things and I tried so hard to make Snow White like me or whatever.
She's telling that it's evil, but it's not.
But she's not really evil.
Right.
And
because everybody's the good guy from their point of view.
Exactly, and then she was like, I had to banish her, but I didn't realize it's because she's a fucking vampire.
Yeah, and she's like molesting your father.
Yeah,
killing him.
So all of that said, I really enjoyed the story overall. The art just, exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
It's like in another like area for me because like I really like Darwin Cook and Tim Sale's stuff, and like this is just like a different genre. Not genre of art because it's still comic
style of art,
but it's style of art. It's another specific type of art that I really enjoy. Is like that.
Yeah, and it really works for this type of story.
Yeah,
we're like. Specifically the Dark Age kind of feel because it does look like stained glass, or it has the feel of, the those old school books, like say, like the Sword in the Stone, or those, like King Arthur books, and they always have that like filigree on the side of the book, like the art but on each page around it, like a border.
And the first letter is like a third of the page.
Yeah,
and it's like. The time.
I want to write like that so that way, like I get more page count because the first letter of each sentence of each chapter is like half of a page.
Half a page.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's why they did it. Probably not. It was way harder.
Those editors, man, I gotta hit a page, page count.
Probably not back then because it was a lot harder to. I imagine they had to like hand do that stuff, and then the rest of it was printed text or something. But. But yeah, so it looks like that. It's got that cool art. So
it gets a 9 for me. This was like
wow, a 9?
Yeah, this was really, really enjoyable.
Cool. So this one, I mean, if you're a fan of Snow White and you're like, oh man, I love that story, this would be a weird read because you would be like, I know this story, and then no, I don't. Like this is a completely different telling, which I like about that. I think. I don't particularly give a fuck about the original or the Disney story. So, like, I like seeing where, like, I had no idea where this was going to go. I mean, from the beginning, I'm like, oh, they're throwing, like, sex in it. Okay, that's interesting. And then they're like, oh, vampires? Like, I didn't see that coming. Like, oh, incest vampire. All right. Like weird things that he's making sure to say. And then, like, I loved the way the dwarves were portrayed as just, like, dirty men and fucking in a cave that live in a cave. I thought that was funny. And yeah, I like the progression of the story. I also like the weird stuff he threw in, like the stuff dripping between your legs. Just he doesn't explain it; it's just there. And he makes a mention of it once or twice, and then in every picture of her naked, you see it. but I don't know what it means. And that makes me intrigued by it. Like, that makes me go like, oh, he's got like some deep mythology in it or something. Even if he doesn't, maybe he's got some like stupid reason why. But he didn't say it on the page, so it gives me a good question to think about. But yeah, the art in this is amazing. I was just like, every page I was like, wow. Yeah, every page of this book is wow.
Every page, yeah, like seriously, there's not a filler art area or like, just like, detail on a face and then like lines in the background. Like every page of this is just like, wow, yes. Wow.
So, yeah, now I want to read the other stuff that they've done together, or whatever she's done, because I want to see her art more. So it's very cool. But yeah, I would say like if you're not a fan of fairy tales, this works too, because it's not a traditional fairy tale style, and there's way crazier stuff like stuff you would never see in in a fairy tale movie by Disney. So yeah, that was fun, and I'm just seeing where it's gonna go and how it's gonna end. I like how it didn't end with her being like happy. It's like she's recounting all this from a dungeon, and she's about to be burned to death.
Yeah,
which is great. This is a great way to end it. And then like the Queen Snow White being like, everybody loves me. And
I like that we got a secret horror comic for Christmas too.
Yeah,
like this turned out
like a backdoor horror.
We happen to like in general just like be a bigger fan of like horror comics and movies and stuff in general, and so it was a fun surprise to be like, oh, we thought this was gonna be like just a weird retelling of like a wintry Snow White tale, and it was like it's vampires and shit.
And all of this pretty much takes place in the winter, so it fits our holiday.
It counts.
It counts totally. Don't ever. We didn't vote for this. You did. Yeah. So blame the patrons.
If this wasn't enough of a holiday one for you, we've got our holiday episodes coming out.
Yes, we have special episodes.
You can join our Patreon at www.patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word, and vote on a more holiday-esque one next year.
Yes, exactly.
And for we might do this for multiple holidays. So yeah.
Yeah, we got some ideas for Easter. We got some good ones. So yeah. I mean, I know this one's short, but we do have, like John said, an extra Christmas episode that's coming out on the 24th, Christmas Eve. We're going to release those. One special exclusive one for Patreon, which is Lobo, the paramilitary Christmas special, which is fucking amazing, and you should all go subscribe to Patreon just to listen to that. But if you don't, or if you're not on our Patreon, we're also releasing a free one that is the Spider-Man's Tangled Web number 29, which is a Christmas special written by Darwin Cook and Jay Bone on the art with him. And so
and you don't want to miss that. Like that was really surprising how good that Christmas one was.
Yeah, so we're gonna release those on the 24th, Christmas Eve. But that is pretty much it for this one. Once again, like we said, if you want to join our Patreon, it's patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word.
Also, I have all of our social media, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube for exclusive content. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, all of that. We appreciate all of the support wherever you can give it to us. So thank you very much, and I guess we will see you guys in the new year. With new comics.
And what are we? Yeah, so the vote we're going to do next month is, because it's New Year, is all new characters that we've never read, one from each like major publishers. We got one from DC, one from Marvel, one from Image. Dark Horse, and one from Image.
Yeah.
So these are new characters that we've never done. And then so you'll get to vote on that if you're a patron. And then we're going to go back in the way back time machine, and we're going to start with the first superhero comic ever. And we're going to read the first, we're going to read the first volume of Superman.
What Superman was when he first appeared. Yeah,
from Action Comics #1. I don't know until we feel like stopping, because there's 29 issues in that first volume. So we'll read a bunch of it. We're not going to go through, because that one, everybody knows Superman, right? So, taller, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Faster speeding bullet,
all that stuff. So we're gonna give a discussion about a lot of these issues, see what the similarities are with what we've already read of Superman and what we know of the nowadays Superman comparatively. So it's going to be a cool issue. I've never read the old Superman stuff. I'm sure it's going to be different, way different than we think Superman is.
Yeah.
Because there's no lore yet. They're creating the lore as they go. So yeah, that'll be fun. That's going to be our free first podcast of the month, and then our next free podcast, the one that the patrons get to vote on what it is going to be the first or the new characters that we've never done before.
New year, new characters.
Yes. And we'll let you guys know when we figure out what we're going to do for the Patreon exclusive episode next month. So, with that being said, anything else, John?
I think we're good. I think we'll see you guys in the new year.
On the next one.
All right. Bye.